Hello everyone, Manaluz Brony here. So I'm hopping on the bandwagon with everyone else and making an Equestria Girls review. Naturally, heavy spoilers ahead. The first time I watched the movie, I thought it was pretty good, but I was just excited to see some new official pony. My second watch was much more critical. As such, there were a number of things that I noticed that I had overlooked in my watch, and I realized I didn't like it as much this time around. Overall, my feelings for this movie are pretty mixed up, but let's get on with the review. When I initially heard that they were going to be doing a movie with humanized ponies, I was actually kind of excited about it. I figured it wouldn't do any harm watching, because hey, I turned out to like a show about candy-colored ponies. I knew from the beginning that this would be hard to pull off, but I trusted the writers. When it finally came out, I finally watched it, and it hadn't lived up to most of the episodes in the series. The plot is extremely mediocre because it doesn't have any losing points save for the fact that the ponies that were assumably adults are now teenagers, but it also doesn't have any redeeming points. Because of this, the only things that can redeem any real points for this movie are the characters, animations, songs, etc., all of which also have points that make me veer away as well. I'll start with the characters. We are introduced to the main six one at a time, each of which seems to hold high social popularity in the school, save for Applejack. In fact, Applejack is the only one in the entire school that seems to not have a set social group other than being a country folk, which isn't even really a social group. It seemed to me the only reason AJ was separated from Rainbow Dash was because without AJ and Dashie being friends, then Dashie wouldn't be friends with the rest, which isn't at all the case with her. In fact, wouldn't Dashie think to ask AJ? At the very least, couldn't Dashie have talked to the others that were still friends with AJ? I guess I'm just nitpicking now, so as I was saying, none of the main five are very different, which is good. It would be harsh to adjust to a not-so-shy Fluttershy after all. There are a ton of cameo appearances such as Trixie, the Cutemare Crusaders, Photo Finish, and more, which I liked, but I definitely feel they overshot it. Spike's presence in this movie is very important. By just being there, Spike helped Twilight adjust to this world. He also acted as a voice of reason when Twilight really needed it, which he's always been there to do, but he really delivered it in this movie. The problem with Spike being Twilight's voice of reason in the series is that Twilight is already extremely knowledgeable to the ways of the world, so she could probably do everything without him, just at an insignificant bit more difficulty if he wasn't there. But when placed in a world that Twilight is ignorant about, Spike is able to use logic to suggest the best course of action when it's needed. I liked this. We don't get enough Spike actually being helpful. But then there's these two. I just want to take a minute here to say that I've already made a video based on Sunset Shimmer because I had a lot to say about her, so I'm going to put an annotation here and I want you to click on it if you want to hear what I have to say about Sunset Shimmer. Otherwise, feel free to continue. Anyway, I don't like these two characters. I know I can defend Sunset Shimmer in my first video, but that doesn't mean I like her. Those were just observations. It's just a headcanon that makes sense so she can actually make sense as a character. But one thing that I didn't address in the video, what the hell did Sunset Shimmer mean by this?
Pop quiz. What happens when you bring an element of harmony into an alternate world? You don't know? Seriously? And you're supposed to be Princess Celestia's star student?
Has this happened before? This line is never explained, ever. There's an implied explanation at the end, but we'll get to that. Since I've already talked about Sunset Shimmer, then that leaves me to complain about Flash. In fact, while talking about Flash, I have a question.
Her Highness, Princess Twilight Sparkle.
Why is he there? I know he's a member of the Guard, but there are 6 Crystal Guards that are all there to welcome Twilight with trumpets. All he does is shout her name. But did they really have to call a 7th pony to do that? Really, there is absolutely no reason for his presence here. To top it off, he's not even a Crystal Pony, so he's not from the Crystal Empire. So why is a foreign guard even there in the first place? Actually, while talking about his uselessness, the entire story could have been done without him. Sure, he proved Twilight's innocence with the photographs, but all he really did was find the original photos in the trash at the library. Wouldn't it actually make more sense for one of Twilight's friends to do this, especially since one of them represents the element of honesty, which would not only expand their role, but also make it apparent that they still represent their respective elements in this world? It seems like the writers decided, hey, it's a high school setting and about a dance. Let's slap on a romantic interest for no reason or convenience to the plot. Maybe it's just me. Plus, he sucks at guitar. I mean, he's awful. But enough about the characters. I could keep bitching about Flash all day, but that's not what this video is for. The songs really weren't up to par with Daniel Ingram's reputation, but they were fine in my opinion. The intro song, though...
My little pony, my little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be.
No! This is not your style, MLP. Never do this to my ears again. Anyway. Strange New World sounded very average. The animation sequence was simple, but I don't think his song was meant to leave an impact, just to show us Twilight's confusion, which I like. It was nice to have. Unfortunately, that's all I can really say about that song. Now, chronological order would make me talk about helping Twilight get the crown next, but I'm skipping over it for now. We'll get back to this. Instead, let's hop onto the obligatory montage song, which did its job pretty well. Montage songs aren't meant to be amazing pieces of work, otherwise we'd be too wrapped up in the song to pay full attention to what was going on in the story. Its simplicity is what made it so good, because music in movies and TV shows does one of two things. Tells the story, think winter wrap up for that, or give you some background music to keep you interested in the events at hand, which is what this song did for me. Unfortunately, we almost instantly get yet another montage song that serves a much weaker purpose. It didn't even sound very good, really. It seemed to me like the crew had too much of a trouble thinking of a good transition from fixing the gym to getting ready for the dance, so they decided to slap a song in there for convenience. Don't do this to us, DHX. Please. You can get away with it this time, but if it happens in the show, I swear I will do nothing about it. Of course, then it continues, which in my opinion, the dance scene called for a different song entirely, but maybe that's just me. But moving on now, animation. I pretty much agree with the overall opinion. The animation was fantastic because there's so much more you can do with the human bodies versus the pony bodies. There were a few scenes that I felt could have been done better, but I was definitely glad to see the animation team didn't try to over-animate the hell out of this movie, which I've seen before and it's not pleasant. While talking about animation, I have to go back to songs, namely helping Twilight win the crown. The music was pretty good. I didn't like the lyrics very much, but the animation blew me away entirely. It was just flat out fantastic. I mean, sure, the animation at the end when the entire cafeteria broke out dancing was just looped animations, but they had a lot of characters to animate in one scene without making everything look all over the place. But when it shows is when the main six dance separately, and it really makes up for it. And for the record, this move is very hard to do. But moving on to the final section of my video, I believe every movie should have its ending separately analyzed and critiqued, so let's get started. The entire plot is rendered completely pointless as Sunset Shimmer gets the crown anyway and turns into this magical demon thing. It doesn't take very long for the main six to launch an orbital friendship cannon and pull a Deus Ex Machina and make Sunset Shimmer realize the flaws of her ways. The dance just continues like nothing happened and Sunset Shimmer is told to clean up her mess. Twilight gets back to the portal just as it closes and all is well. Wait, what? Is this what Sunset Shimmer meant by bringing an element of harmony into an alternate dimension? It turns you into this? But wait, why does Twilight get to use its magic and turn the main six into these things instead of those? Okay, so when an element of harmony is in any world other than Equestria, it turns the wielder into something that resembles what they are on the inside. Or does it make you resemble your counterpart, but Sunset Shimmer isn't the wielder of the element, so it screws up? What if instead of those, it just becomes an independent force that can be manipulated by the holder but still reaches and is forever connected to its owner, but it can be used by anyone? I don't know, my head's just starting to hurt thinking about it. At least I managed to explain the Deus Ex Machina in my headcanon video. That's about all I can really think to say about this movie. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Good for what it is and understandable when it's liked, just not for me. I'd like to take a minute to thank everybody that watched this video, along with everybody that watched my first video. It actually got a lot more attention than I had anticipated, so, thanks. And I also took into consideration a lot of feedback. Some people were saying that my audio was a little bit too quiet, so I changed that. A couple other people said that I wasn't showing enough images and it was kind of getting boring, basically. So, let me know if I've improved on that.